Stars shining bright above you. Night breezes seem to whisper, I love you. Birds singing in the sycamore tree. Dream a little dream of me. Hello, folks. I hope you're all doing well. As you probably gathered from the title of this video, we're going to be looking at the song Dream a Little Dream of Me. There are a bunch of chords in this one, so I'm going to start off with some chord review. If at a glance you're feeling pretty confident with all these chords, go ahead and skip ahead to the next section. If you want to stick around and review with me, I'll probably spend most of the time on like the bar chords rather than some of the simpler chords. So stick around and skip ahead whenever you're ready, or just watch through, and we'll get into strumming and arranging and all that fun stuff. Okay, so I'm starting off by just looking at the PDF with all of the chords on there. So we've got a D chord, a B flat 7 chord, an A7, B7, E minor 7, C9, E7, G minor 7, B flat, and finally F7. There's kind of a bonus chord in here. I'll show you where I like to put that. But instead of playing an E7, I often like to play an E9 chord. So it's not that much extra work to make that 7 a 9. But a lot of these you're probably familiar with if you've been playing for a little while. We've got our D major chord, where I'm just playing the 2nd frets of the G, C, and E string. I'm going to skip over to the A7. Just one finger, 1st fret of the C. Nice and easy there. E minor 7. 2nd fret of the C, 2nd fret of the A. This C9. I love this C9. This, especially in the context of this song, sounds absolutely lovely. So this one's fairly easy to play. It's a little, might be the first time you're playing it. It's a kind of an odd chord here. But it's the same shape as our F chord, our regular old F chord, where I've got my fingers in this configuration. But now, for the C9, I'm playing the 1st fret of the A string and the 2nd fret of the C string. And my G and E strings are the ones that are open. And it sounds like that. We have our E7 chord, 1st fret of the G, 2nd fret of the C, 2nd fret of the A, with our open E string in there. All right, I'm going to jump ahead one more time to the F7 chord. So if I have my regular old F, 1st fret of the E, 2nd fret of the G, I can just add in my ring finger on the 3rd fret of the C. And there I have my F7 chord. Sometimes, that's how it's written out here on this particular diagram, but sometimes I also like to throw in my pinky finger on the 3rd fret of the A string. And this particular one isn't shown on that diagram, so this is an extra finger, an extra variation on that F7 chord. The reason I'm doing that is to get a C note into the mix. I'm already getting an A note on the 2nd fret of the G, which is just doubled with that open A string. And because I'm playing the F7, I'm no longer getting a C note out of my open C string. Now I'm getting an E flat note out of that. So to make up for it, sometimes I'll just throw in that 3rd fret of the A string to get all of those notes in there. Now, there are plenty of times where we play chords where we're not actually hitting all of the notes in the chord. Some of the chords that we've already looked at are doing just that. But it can sound nice, and that's just something that you might see me doing, is adding in that extra finger on that F7 chord. All right, now let's backtrack to the bars, the bar chords. B flat 7 and B7 I want to look at together because those two chords are the same exact shape. We're just playing them in different places on the ukulele. So the B flat 7, we are playing on the 1st fret. So I've got my pointer finger across all of my strings on the first fret there. So I'm barring that first fret, and then I'm just adding in my middle finger on the second fret of the C. So my pointer finger is pressing down on all of those strings, and my middle finger is just pushing down on the second fret of that C string. Obviously, we're not hearing the note coming out of the first fret of the C string, because our second finger, whatever the highest fret is what we're going to hear. But one of the lovely things about bar chords is that you're getting a lot out of your practice for each of those chords, because you're not just getting one chord, you're also getting the B7 chord. So it's the same exact shape, except now we're barring the second fret. And then we have the third fret of the C string. And we've turned that B flat into a B7. And it doesn't stop there. That's the great thing about this, even though it's not in this particular song. Learning this shape means you've also learned a C7. This is a new way of playing a C7 anyway, rather than the open position down there. So we've got a new way to play C7. We can do C#7. We can play D7 up here. And as long as you don't run out of frets, you can just keep on going up the neck. And of course, the longer your ukulele's neck is, the more chords you get out of that. So that is that shape, B-flat-7 and B7. Okay, we got those two other bars. We've got the G minor 7 and the B flat chord. These are excellent to look at together because they are very, very similar. There's only one note that's different between the two of them. So let's start off with the G minor 7. Looks like that. So here I'm doing a bar. I'm only barring two of those strings, though. I'm just barring the first frets of the A string and the E string. And then I'm adding my middle finger onto the second fret of the C string. Very similar to where we were playing that B-flat-7 over here, right? But now we're just not worrying about that extra note because we want that G to be open when I play G minor 7. And then to turn that G minor 7 into a B flat chord, all I've got to do is add my ring finger to the third fret of the G string. And voila, we have a B flat chord. Now, sometimes when I'm playing the B flat chord, you might see me barring all of the strings like that. You can totally do that. That's not a problem at all. Sometimes I like doing that. It gives my hand a little bit more, or my fingers a little bit more support the way that is, as opposed to kind of like bending my pointer finger. To each their own, though. See what's most comfortable for you. These bar chords can be a little bit challenging at first, and you want to go easy on your hands. Pay attention to your body and make sure that you're not hurting. If you're feeling a little ache, relax your fingers, shake yourself out a little bit, and come back to it. A couple things that you want to think about are good thumb placement on the back of the neck of the ukulele. You want to make sure that your thumb isn't sticking out in some weird angle that's gonna give you more pain than is required. So you want to make sure that your thumb is kind of centered on the back of the neck. It's going to shift around depending on what chord you're playing, but you want to stick somewhere around there on the back of the neck. So you're supporting your other fingers. All of those fingers are kind of coming together, as opposed to, your thumb sticking out like this and you're kind of twisting and straining the palm of your hand. And as with any chord, you want to just give it a little bit of time. You're going to have to fidget your fingers, I'm sure, a little bit. You're going to get some buzzing. Some notes aren't going to be sticking out, and you're going to want to see where those are happening. Maybe you need to squeeze a little bit tighter. Maybe you need to adjust the position of one of your fingers so you're not maybe touching one of the metal fret bars. If I'm touching one of those little metal bars, I'm not going to get a great note. And sometimes when we're cramming all of our fingers into these small frets on a ukulele, that's very likely to happen. Likewise, the way that our fingers sit, we might be leaning a finger, so maybe the pad of one of my fingers is bumping up to an adjacent string that it's not supposed to be touching. When I play the string all by itself, I can feel it vibrating against the pad of that finger. So I know that I need to reposition a little bit. So I might go back in and try and use the tips of my fingers a little bit more, as opposed to spreading them and like laying them across the strings like that. But again, everybody's going to be a little bit different. You might have a certain approach that works better for you. Just be mindful that you don't hurt yourself. But if it sounds good, it's right. So I did go through those chords relatively quickly. You know, in the grand scheme of things, looking at 10 chords in under 10 minutes is pretty quick, especially if there are any new ones to you in there. So feel free to spend as much time as you need to on each of these chords. Don't let that stop you from trying out the song if you're really eager to go for it. As we're playing through songs and we're learning how all these chord shapes work and sound and fit together and moving from one to the other, you're going to get a lot of clunks. Until, ooh, a chord that sounds almost right starts popping out. You know, you're gonna be spending a bit of time, and that's totally fine. Don't let that stress you out. If you're like, you know what, I'm just gonna give this song a go. If every time you hit that B flat, it sounds like that, so be it. You're practicing the song. Don't worry about clunks and stuff like that. Set aside some time specifically to work on those chords that are challenging, and they will come in time. But that doesn't mean you can't have fun in the meantime and just play the song. Let's think a little bit about the strumming. Before we look too far ahead at the song, we can keep this relatively simple. I could just do downstrokes. We're in 4/4 time, so we're going to be counting in groups of 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. And to start off, you might want to do something like that. Where there are a lot of changes, this might be a really good song to just strum when those changes happen. So just when it changes from, say, the D chord to the B flat, and then the A7. But as you're more comfortable and as you're kind of getting the hang of those changes, you might want to spice it up a little bit. Now, I usually change my strumming a little bit over the course of the song, so I'm not just playing the same strumming pattern all the way through. But a lot of what I'm doing is really close to these two strumming patterns that I'm going to talk about. And there's just going to be some variations in between, and I'll try and point it out when I do make those little variations. But as long as you're keeping track of your beats, 1, 2, 3, 4, and even those in-between strums, those offbeats, 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and, then you're not going to get too lost, and if you try something out, as long as you're keeping track, you'll be able to jump right back in if you need to change things up. So the first strumming pattern I want to look at is down, down, up, down, up, down, up. 1, 2, and 3, and 4. Sorry, there's no up at the end of this first one. Sometimes I'll throw in the up. Again, that is the variation that's going on. So down, down, up, down, up, down. Down, down, up, down, up, down. 1, 2, and 3, and 4. 1, 2, and 3, and 4. So it'll sound like this, doing those first 4 measures. 1, 2, 3, 4. Down, down, up, down, up, down. Down, down, up, down, up, down. 1, 2, and 3, and 4. 1, 2, and 3, and 4. So you could play that pattern throughout, especially if you're just kind of practicing without singing along. Sticking to one pattern can be nice, kind of get you in the groove of the song, help you feel it out a little bit. And then here, the second pattern that I kind of lean into a little bit is very similar, but this time it's down, 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 up, down, up. 1, 2, 3, and 4, and 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 the first 4 measures will sound something like this. 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, and 4, and 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 it's very common to see the down and up strokes written out in D, U, D, U. You know, it's easy to write in text, but this song is in the key of D. I'm looking at all these D's in the down, up, down, up, down, up. And it's throwing me off a little bit. It's making me think, oh, I'm playing D, 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 D. So I definitely, when I'm thinking about music, I'm definitely thinking in terms of the count, in terms of the 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and. And that really helps me keep track of where I am. The other thing that you may have been able to hear when I was strumming is I was giving a little bit of swing to my strum. So it wasn't very rigid 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and. I had a little bit of a lilt to it. I had like a long, short, long, short, long, short, long vibe. There are a couple different ways to think about it if you've never played before, and I recommend practicing this separate from other material in here, separate from working on the song or separate from working on specific chords. Whenever I'm just focusing on a rhythmic technique, I try not to worry too much about what I'm playing over here. The best way is I could just mute all my strings and just chunk away. So one of the ways that I might think about this is thinking of strums in a group of 3, but I'm only strumming the first and third in that group of 3. So three even spaces, and I'm strumming on the first and third. So kind of like this. 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3. So that's like the spacing of the down and up strum. So that's the space that we want in between those strums. 1 and 2 and 3 and 4. 1 and 2 and 3 and 4. 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3. Lots of numbers floating around. But again, you practicing that in isolation. 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3. It's going to help you get that feel. And pretty soon you're not going to have to count that as specifically. It's going to start off, it's going to feel a little robotic. Your arm might feel a little bit stiff. You want to make sure that you loosen yourself up a little bit, make sure that you're comfortable as you move into practicing that strum. And pretty soon it's going to get less and less rigid as you have to count less kind of out loud to yourself. It's good to count out loud with your voice, but you maybe are counting, concentrating just in your mind. And as that becomes more and more natural, you're going to be thinking about it less. It's just going to be counting in the back of your head as you're strumming, and it's feeling a little bit more natural, and you can spend a little bit more time thinking about what's on the page and what that next chord is, and how do I play that C9 again? All right, so let's walk through the song itself. So I am playing an arrangement of this song that is essentially what you'll find in the Daily Ukulele. I've got the to-go version because I like having a little book, and it's really handy. It's like not much bigger than my ukulele. The full-size version is really great because, you know, the text is a lot bigger, but I really love having the compact size on me at all times. I need to see, I'm sure they do, if they have the other editions of this book in the to-go versions, because man, it is so convenient. But I'm essentially playing the arrangement of "Dream a Little Dream of Me" that you'll find in there. As I said, with some alterations that I'm kind of doing to make it my own. Still playing it in the key of D, as you'll see in that book if you happen to have it. One of the first things that I do is I kind of shift where the melody sits. So in a lot of sheet music for this song, you will see kind of a straightforward, well, I don't even want to say straightforward, just a particular rhythm where the melody is starting off on the first beat, and I've got to change where I play the melody here so that I can actually hit all the notes on this uke. 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3. 2, 3, 4. But that melody is starting right on the downbeat of 1. And I kind of don't do that. I kind of delay the melody a little bit. You'll hear when I'm singing it. Instead of starting right on 1, 2, 3, 4. Stars shining bright. I've had a little bit of a rest at the beginning, and then I come in, kind of delay that melody. 1, 2, 3, 4. Stars shining bright above you. Night breezes seem to whisper, I love you. I just think it sounds neat. It feels more natural to me, and maybe it's like a amalgamation of my memory of what the song sounds like, through various performances of it, as opposed to the written melody. And you'll find that a lot of artists do that, especially with songs that have been around for a while. A lot of people, have their own versions of it. You listen from one to the other, and you probably have your favorite version of a number of songs that a lot of people have done. So there you go. This is your opportunity to make your own version. It'll be somebody else's favorite version of this song someday. So in the materials that I have for you, I don't have the melody written out. Maybe one of these days I'll show you how to play my solo instrumental arrangement of this tune, which is fun and kind of reflects the way that I sing it anyway. It's just the instrumental version of kind of what I do anyway here. But if you do find a printed version of this song, chances are it'll be the way that it's written out in the Daily Ukulele, where it is, starting on 1, 2, 3, and 4, and 1, 2, 3, 4. Oh yes, it doesn't even syncopate that. So it's just the B flat and A7. 1, 2, 3, 4. And what I tend to do is I anticipate that A a little bit early. 1, 2, and 3, 4. So I jump to that A7 a little bit quick. Again, just kind of like playing with time, and it's fun. So you don't have to do that if you don't want to. You can keep it a little bit more straight if you'd like to. Whatever you think sounds best. All right, so let's kind of like slowly play through the song and see what's going on, and I'll kind of stop as we get to spots where either there's something drastically different that I'm doing or some little tip that I think might help you along the way. 1, 2, 3, 4. Stars shining bright above you. Night breezes seem to whisper, I love you. Birds singing in the sycamore tree. Dream a little dream of me. Okay, right there. I don't know if you noticed that, but there was something that was consistent across all of that I just played, and that was my middle finger was living on that C string the whole time. So I'm going to just talk through each of those chords as I'm playing them. So here's my D. Middle finger is on the C string there. B flat 7. Middle finger still there. A7. I just slid down like that. Still, middle finger's right there. I probably repositioned when I got up here, but that middle finger's still staying on that C string. B7. It's on the 3rd fret. E minor 7, again, still middle finger on that C string. C9, once again, look who's still there. Go back to the D, E7, A7. Once again, that middle finger is staying on that C string. It's either on the 2nd fret, 1st fret, or 3rd fret for all of those measures that we just saw there. So thinking about that can give you a little bit of guidance. It feels like these chords are kind of out of place. We've got a B flat chord in a song in the key of D. That seems a little weird, doesn't it? And then we've got a B7. Normally, if we have a B in the key of D, it's going to be minor. But we've got all these fun little changes that make the song sound really, really neat, that are a little bit unexpected. So finding something like being able to keep your finger planted on a single string there as you move along, at least physically, can help you connect all of those chords, which can be really, really helpful, especially if maybe you're seeing some of these chords in combinations that you haven't seen before. Okay, and then we go back and we repeat, but this time we're going to go to the second ending. So I'm going to kind of fast forward through our second verse, our next verse here. 1, 2, 3, 4. Say nighty night and kiss me. Just hold me tight and tell me you'll miss me while I'm alone and blue as can be. Okay, so here, before I played that first dream a little dream of me, but now I've got a second ending, and this is going to have a little bit more resolution to it. Before we ended on an A7, it's the 5th of our key here. It's the 5th chord. And it's kind of is waiting to be resolved, but here we're gonna resolve. We're gonna resolve because we've got to the end of this section here. So we got dream a little dream. There's that G minor 7 of A7. Again, my middle finger's still on that C string. Me. Okay, so I'm gonna go blue as can be. Second ending. Dream a little dream of me. All right, we're going into the bridge now. So we've played those first 2 verses, and now we're gonna change gears a little bit. We're gonna change the form a little bit here. Now we're playing B flat and an F7 chord, and at the very end we're gonna throw in an A7 chord. 2, 3, 4. Stars fade in, but I linger on, dear, still craving your kiss. I'm longing to linger till dawn, dear, just saying this. So fairly straightforward. You can probably hear that my strumming got a little bit simpler there. I like that section feels a little bit more open. Everything in the verses feels a little bit tighter and closer. But that bridge just feels a little bit more sweeping and grand. The chords are changing a little bit more slowly, or at least evenly spaced out, and it just sounds wide right there. And then we come back in and we get a little bit more intimate at the end once again, where we play that verse to the end. Sweet dreams till sunbeams find you. Sweet dreams that leave all worries behind you. But in your dreams, whatever they be, dream a little dream of me. And there you have Dream a Little Dream of Me. Let's play the whole thing. Let's see what it sounds like all together, and come back and talk about what we've learned today. 1, 2, 3, 4. Stars shining bright above you. Night breezes seem to whisper, I love you. Birds singing in the sycamore tree. Dream a little dream of me. Say nighty night. Just hold me tight and tell me you'll miss me while I'm alone and blue as can be. Dream a little dream of me. Stars fade in, but I linger on, dear, still craving your kiss. I'm longing to linger till dawn, dear, just saying this. Sweet dreams till sunbeams find you, sweet dreams that leave all worries behind you. But in your dreams, whatever they be, dream a little dream of me. Welcome back. Let's talk about what we've learned today. We've learned that we can play most of this song by keeping our middle finger on the C string of our ukulele as we go through and play all those different chord shapes, at least these particular voicings that I've selected for this particular arrangement. If you haven't seen some of these chords before, hey, maybe you learned a new chord. That's pretty cool. And of course, if you've never played this song before, you've learned a whole new song, and that's certainly something too, isn't it? I hope you enjoyed this lesson. I hope you found it useful. Feel free to email me any questions you may have, tinyvillagemusic@gmail.com. I love talking about this stuff. So if you're like, hey, why did you choose to do it this way? Or why did you choose to do it that way? Or I play it like this. Is that right? Feel free to chat with me. I would love to hear from you. If you are finding this in the wilds of YouTube, I encourage you to sign up for my mailing list. Again, there's a link in the description below, and basically I'll just send you a link to my weekly videos, or if there isn't a weekly video, I'll send you some like PDFs or some interesting stories or something every Friday to keep you going. And that's entirely free. That's just because I love doing this, and it makes me feel good to share music stuff with you. So if you are also into music stuff and you've got space in your inbox for one more message a week, then click that button and strum along with me. So thank you so much. I will talk to you all in the next video. Until then, take care.